They would say, you know, my ancestors told me something else and your ancestors told you something else. Let's find out what the truth is. So it is our knowledge, our illusions that divide us. It is not the truth that divides us. We don't have the truth. And therefore we live in illusion. And those illusions divide us. So to end the disorder in consciousness, one has to end illusion. And fortunately, illusion can be ended. An organic thing cannot be ended, but an illusion, which is an imaginary thing, can be ended by discerning what is true, what is a fact in nature, and what is simply a construct of imagination and thought. And what are the consequences of it? By learning about it, you can discover that it is not true and it is cruel. Therefore, don't accept it as culture. It's not culture, it's a distortion of culture. And that is why this quest for truth is the essence of all religion. That's the motto of the Theosophical Society. There is no religion higher than truth. That's the central fact of Theosophy, that the objective of Theosophy is this quest for truth. But the difficulty is that the man who is in illusion Is it working now? Am I audible in the back? So illusions are just some constructs of thought which are not part of nature, but which we have accepted as true, and therefore they become true for us. For instance, if you grow up in India, you are assigned a caste. A child is born, it already has not only the Hindu religion or the Muslim religion, but it has a caste. Either it's born in a Brahmin family or a Shudra family or a Vaishya family, and so on. This was started some 5,000 years ago or so, because it's mentioned even to several castes. The whole thing is untrue. There is no difference between a Brahmin child and a Shudra child. But the Shudra is discriminated right from childhood. The scientists will tell you, I can't tell from studying the RNA or DNA structure of the chromosomes whether this is a Brahmin or a Shudra. There is no difference whatsoever. So it's completely false and extremely discriminatory, and yet it perpetuates. Because the child grows up seeing this in operation, his mind gets infected with casteism, and he maintains casteism. So what is outside becomes inside, and what is inside sustains the outside. And so there is a tremendous inertia in society. Society just replicates itself. That's why India is India, and America is America, and so on. There also it replicates. Here also it replicates. So it's not easy to change that. And yet, unless we inquire into what is true, if we just accept what our culture is telling us, we are trapped in illusions. And illusions can be different. They are indeed different from culture to culture. And we get attached to our own particular illusions, then it divides us. So there are all these cultural illusions. For centuries, men have felt that men are assistants for them, and that man is superior to woman. False. For centuries it has gone on. Human beings believed that kings were divine people and not subject to laws, and so on, and so much atrocity was committed. So we are capable of all kinds of illusion. From that illusion there comes a lot of cruelty. And it's not seen as cruelty because you say that's our culture. So in the Islamic world, they keep one hidden behind a veil all the time, and can't do this, can't do that, and so on. They say it's our culture. So they don't see the cruelty in it. Similarly, the problem is that all of us have illusions in our minds. And the difficulty is that the mind which is in illusion is not aware of its illusions. If it was aware of its illusions, those illusions would end. But it's not aware of its illusions. I mean, Hitler really believed that Jews should be eliminated and that he will create a better world by eliminating them. He really believed that. False. So very careful not to be too certain or too dogmatic about any opinion. How do you know that that is the truth? It may not be the truth. You may be deceiving yourself, fooling yourself. And so this whole for self-knowledge, which is to discriminate what is true and what is false, and not accept everything that your own mind tells you to be true, not treat it as an ownership, but we own our brains and we own our thoughts and ideas. That shows them. And that creates division. The man in Pakistan is equally short. And that unites the Indians and the Pakistanis, though they were all one nation together a few decades ago. Deeper than that are the psychological illusions, what the psychologists tell us as complexes. They form because you have had certain traumatic experiences in childhood. Those are held in memory and they cause all kinds of fears and complexes. And so on. And that's what makes you feel separate, the so-called personality. So there is in our consciousness both the universal consciousness as the capacity of awareness, which has no structure. It's not your awareness, somebody else's awareness. It's just awareness, capacity which is part of the divine seed in us. And then there is the personality, which is the conditioned part of the consciousness, resulting from where we have been born and where we have grown up, with what notions around us. If we are too attached to the personality, that's what constitutes the ego. The personality is not the ego, the personality is the fact. I can't erase all those memories in my brain which are there. So I have a structure. After I learned physics, I don't know biology. So that is there in my brain. But the pride that you get from it, the status that you derive from it, all that is our own doing. Otherwise, just as your body has a certain skin, a certain color, a certain shape, your mind also, your thoughts have a certain, your knowledge has a certain shape, certain limits. That's a fact. The attachment to that, the ownership of that, and the feeling that everything that my mind tells is true, that is where the problem lies. So to know that you don't know is the highest wisdom. And that's the beginning of learning. So Krishnamurti taught us that the learning mind, this kind of learning, not the learning as knowledge, skills and so on, what we acquire in university and so on, that is cumulative learning. This is learning to discern what is true and what is false. And not just intellectually, but through perception. You perceive it. When you perceive the false as the false, it drops. It disappears. And since, therefore, the illusion can be ended. And that is why Theosophy was called the wisdom religion. Because self-knowledge is the key to wisdom. And self-knowledge is this discerning what is true and what is false, rather than just owning all the illusions of one's own culture. If you do that, then you come upon the universal truth of man, which is the view of the Theosophical society. Because so long as you separate from your fellow man on the religion, on the basis of caste, on the basis of ideology, and so on, not your brother. You may think it is good to be brotherly, but you are really not brotherly. So, to be brotherly, you have to free from this division in your mind. It's a thought arises, the identification process. And when you work on it and you free yourself of it, then you will see that the other man is yourself. Means just like similar, same kind of body, the same kind of consciousness. His desires may be different from your desires, but he has desire, you have desire. His fears may be different from your fears, but you have fear, he has fear, etc. We are absolutely alike. The other man is yourself. That's what the Buddha taught. Why doesn't it become a reality for us? Because the mind is full of all these illusions. And that's why the quest for truth is the greatest essence of all religion. The rest of it is cultural. How do you worship, what books you read, how you chant, and so on. Whether you do it in a mosque or you do it in a temple, those are all cultural details. But this quest for truth, which started right from the time of the Upanishads, and it has been a legacy through religion, that is the essence of religion, because that brings us to freedom from illusion. And the greatest illusion is the ego in man. The illusion is, the one central illusion of whole of humanity is that it thinks that it is in its interest to be egoistic, that the ego is bringing me profit, protecting me, and so on. It's not true. The ego is the greatest cause of all disorder in one's own life and in the world. But when you have this feeling that it is my protector, my friend, then therefore it sustains. The day you perceive danger, it will drop away. Because it's not a reality. It's not like your stomach or kidney or your lungs, not created by nature, not an organ that is there that needs to be operated. It arises in the manner in which you approach the thing. The way you approach your house is egoistic. Your house doesn't create the ego. Your spouse doesn't create the ego in you, but you approach the spouse egoistically. The ego is really a beggar, always seeking something for itself in every relationship. That's the ego. So not to be a beggar, not to cultivate relationships on the basis of I want this, I want that, I get this from that person, and so on. That's the relationship of love. Khalil Gibran writes in The Prophet, in the chapter on friendship, there be no purpose in friendship, save the deepening of the spirit. For love that seeks not but the disclosure of its own mystery is not love, net that is cast forth, and only the unprofitable not. The prophet is saying it's unprofitable, though you think it is. It's unprofitable because so long as you are approaching friendship, which means the relationship, in that way, you will never know what love is. So another of Krishnamurti's statements, which I want to share with you, he said, come upon love and then do what you will, it will be right. But not love as we understand it. He defines love as love is where the self is not. That means there is no self-interest or for profit with which you are approaching. So can one be a friend like that, a true friend to the tree, to the cow, to the river, to oneself, not demanding, not judging, not suppressing, but learning about it. That life is a mystery to be learned about and not a problem to be solved. So friends, as Theosophists, that is the challenge that we have. Can we end the disorder in our consciousness? That's the only way it can end in our relationships and therefore out there in society. It's an illusion to think that a new Messiah, a new Prime Minister, a new political system, new laws will bring about peace and happiness and prosperity. There is nothing wrong with the messiahs that we have had. We are unable to learn from them. Because it's not something you can learn from another, however great that person may be. So Professor Ravi Ravindra in a talk recently said something that struck me. He said that there was a man called Basho in the 13th century in Japan who said, don't follow the wise, seek wisdom that he has. How do you come upon that wisdom? For that you will have to discover for yourself what Buddha discovered, what Jesus discovered, and so on. And that begins with freedom from the past, the way from the past. That was what was extraordinary about people. But he is completely trapped in the idea of the past, which either from your experience or from your knowledge. Then you are in a small little, because our experiences, individual experiences are so limited. And our knowledge is so limited compared to all the knowledge that is there. And so if you completely identify with just this limited set, you are inside yourself, but you don't know that. And you feel safe inside that. It's a false sense of safety, because that's what is creating all the chaos and the cruelty and the danger in the world. So that's why I said that the greatest human illusion is that it thinks that acting out of self-interest is in its self-interest. It is not. Thank you. I'll end it here.
Well, we have just now heard a very erudite and thought-provoking presentation on a subject, on subjects rather, which are very profound and universal. I would say that Professor P. Krishna is a humanistic philosopher, and in the course of his talk, he defined what is right and what is wrong. He says that which destroys the order is wrong, and that which is in accordance with the order is right. Another thing he said that we cannot know the truth, and it is there also in Bhagavad Gita that he who says he knows he doesn't know. And he who says he doesn't know does really know. So to know the truth, one has to be humble also. Humility can help us knowing the truth as well. As I mentioned in the introduction, writings and talks can be reached at his website www.pkrishna.org. On behalf of the International Theosophical Society, I convey our sincere thanks to Professor P. Krishna. Thank you all.